When 15-year-old Amara Johnson decided to read 500 books in 1 year, she never imagined that the dean of Harvard University would show up at her front door. What started as a personal challenge in a cramped apartment became a story that would touch millions of hearts and prove that extraordinary dreams can bloom in the most ordinary places. Before we dive into this incredible journey, tell us in the comments what's the biggest goal you've ever set for yourself. Let's get into this amazing story. The fluorescent lights of the Lincoln Heights Public Library buzzed overhead as Amara carefully stacked returned books onto the metal cart. Her worn sneakers squeaked against the linoleum floor as she moved between the shelves, her movements practiced and efficient. At 15, she had been volunteering here for 2 years, not because she had to, but because this place felt more like home than her actual home sometimes. "Amara, honey, you've been here since we opened," called Mrs. Rodriguez, the head librarian, her voice carrying the gentle concern that had become familiar over the months. "Don't you have somewhere else to be on a Saturday?" Amara looked up from where she was organizing the young adults section, her dark eyes reflecting a maturity that seemed beyond her years. "This is where I want to be, Mrs. R. Besides, Mom's working a double shift at the hospital again and—" She trailed off, not wanting to mention that their tiny apartment felt suffocating when she was alone with her thoughts. The truth was, books had become Amara's escape from a reality that often felt overwhelming. Her mother, Patricia, worked as a night shift janitor at the county hospital, coming home exhausted just as Amara was getting ready for school. Their conversations were brief, passing ships in the hallway of their one-bedroom apartment where Amara slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. "You know," Mrs. Rodriguez said, settling into the chair behind the circulation desk, "I've been watching you. You read more books than anyone I've ever seen. How many would you say you get through in a month?" Amara paused, a copy of The Bluest Eye in her hands. "Maybe 40? 50 on a good month?" She shrugged, as if this was perfectly normal, not realizing that most teenagers her age struggled to read 4 books a month, if any at all. Mrs. Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up. 50 books a month? Amara, that's incredible. Have you ever thought about challenging yourself to something even bigger? That night, as Amara lay on her pull-out couch, listening to the sounds of the city through their thin walls, Mrs. Rodriguez's words echoed in her mind. She pulled out her phone and started calculating. 500 books a month would be 600 books in a year. What if she aimed for 500? It was ambitious, but achievable if she really pushed herself. She thought about her mother, sleeping in the next room after another exhausting shift. Patricia had emigrated from Jamaica with dreams of becoming a teacher, but life had other plans. Single motherhood and financial struggles had derailed those dreams, but she never stopped encouraging Amara to reach higher. "Education is the one thing no one can take from you, baby. Promise me you'll never stop learning," she would say. The next morning, Amara announced her goal to her mother over a breakfast of instant oatmeal and day-old donuts from the hospital cafeteria. 500 books? Patricia's eyes widened as she set down her coffee mug. "In 1 year? Baby, that's more than 1 book a day." "I know it sounds crazy, but I think I can do it. I've been keeping track, and I'm already reading more than most people anyway. What if I document it? Maybe start a blog or something?" Patricia reached across their small table and took her daughter's hands. Despite the calluses from years of cleaning supplies and the exhaustion that seemed permanently etched around her eyes, her touch was gentle. "If this is what you want to do, then we'll figure out how to make it happen. But promise me something. Don't let this become pressure. Reading should bring you joy, not stress." Amara squeezed her mother's hands back. "I promise, Mom, this feels right, like it's something I'm supposed to do." That afternoon, Amara created a simple blog called 500 Books, One Dream and wrote her first post. She expected maybe her mom and Mrs. Rodriguez to read it, if anyone. She had no idea that Dr. Elena Vasquez, Dean of Admissions at Harvard University, would stumble across it 3 months later during a late-night internet rabbit hole about literacy initiatives. Dr. Vasquez had been having trouble sleeping lately. The pressure of her position, the constant decision-making about young people's futures, and the weight of representing excellence in higher education sometimes kept her awake at night. She found herself scrolling through stories of remarkable students looking for something to restore her faith in the next generation. When she clicked on Amara's blog, she expected another typical student resume builder. Instead, she found something extraordinary. Amara's writing wasn't polished or sophisticated, but it was honest and passionate. She wrote about how the bluest eye made her cry in the middle of the library, how reading Hidden Figures made her proud of her heritage, and how The Alchemist inspired her to believe in her dreams even when they seemed impossible. But what struck Dr. Vasquez most were the posts about her daily life. She wrote about reading during her lunch breaks because she couldn't afford to buy lunch anyway. She described balancing books on her lap during bus rides to save reading time. She shared photos of her 50,000 books that she had recently checked out.
Reading corner, a corner of their couch with a lamp from Goodwill and a stack of library books that reached the ceiling. Book 127, Educated by Tara Westover, one post read. This book hit me hard because it's about the power of education to transform not just your mind, but your entire world. Sometimes I feel guilty for wanting more than what my mom has been able to give me, but then I remember that she works so hard specifically so I can want more. She sacrifices so I don't have to. Dr. Vasquez found herself reading post after post, drawn in by Amara's authentic voice and incredible determination. This wasn't just a girl reading books to pad her college application. This was someone using literature as a ladder to climb toward her dreams. By the time she reached Amara's most recent post, Book 234, Why I Read, Dr. Vasquez was crying. Amara had written about a particularly difficult week when their electricity had been shut off due to a missed payment. Instead of complaining, she wrote about how she and her mother sat by candlelight while Amara read aloud from Maya Angelou's autobiography. Reading isn't just about the books for me. It's about proving to myself that I can dream bigger than my circumstances. Every book is proof that there are infinite possibilities in this world, and maybe, just maybe, some of them are meant for me. The next morning, Dr. Vasquez did something she had never done in her 15-year career. She got in her car and drove to Lincoln Heights. Amara was at her usual spot in the library, surrounded by a fortress of books, when Mrs. Rodriguez approached with a puzzled expression. "Honey, there's a woman here to see you. Says she's from Harvard University?" Amara looked up from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, her heart immediately racing. Harvard? Had she done something wrong? Was this about her blog? Dr. Vasquez stood near the library entrance, looking slightly out of place in her tailored blazer and designer shoes. But when she saw Amara approaching, a petite teenager with natural hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing a faded library volunteer t-shirt, her expression softened completely. "Amara, I'm Dr. Elena Vasquez from Harvard University. I hope you don't mind me showing up unannounced, but I had to meet the young woman behind 500 Books, One Dream." Amara's mouth dried. You read my blog?" "Every single post. I've been following your journey for weeks now, and I had to tell you in person how incredible what you're doing is. But more than that, I wanted to talk to you about your future." They sat at one of the library's small tables, surrounded by the familiar smell of old books and the quiet hum of weekend activity. Dr. Vasquez explained that she had been working in college admissions, but rarely encountered someone with Amara's authentic passion for learning. "What you're doing isn't just impressive because of the number of books," she said, leaning forward with earnest eyes. "It's the way you engage with what you're reading. Your blog posts show critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and a genuine love of learning that can't be taught or faked." Amara felt overwhelmed. "I don't understand. I'm just reading. It's not like I'm curing cancer or anything." Dr. Vasquez smiled. "Amara, do you know what the most important quality we look for in Harvard applicants is? It's not perfect test scores or a resume full of achievements. It's intellectual curiosity, the desire to learn for the sake of learning. You have that in abundance." "But my grades aren't perfect. My SAT scores aren't even close to what Harvard students probably get. And my mom, she cleans bathrooms for a living. I don't come from the kind of family that goes to Harvard." The vulnerability in Amara's voice made Dr. Vasquez's chest tighten. She thought about all the privileged students who walked into her office, taking their opportunities for granted, and here was this remarkable young woman who doubted she deserved a chance simply because of her circumstances. "Amara, some of our most successful alumni came from backgrounds just like yours. What matters isn't where you come from, it's who you are and what you do with the opportunities you create for yourself. And that's exactly what you've been doing." Over the next hour, Dr. Vasquez learned more about Amara's life. She heard about Patricia's sacrifices, about reading by streetlight when the power was cut off, about choosing books over social activities because they couldn't afford both. But she also heard about dreams. Amara wanted to become a teacher like her mother had always hoped to be, but she wanted to focus on literacy programs in underserved communities. I want to help kids who feel like I did, kids who think books and college and big dreams aren't for people like us. I want to show them that they are. When Dr. Vasquez finally stood to leave, she reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. But instead of handing it over immediately, she held it for a moment. I'm going to do something unconventional, Amara. I'm going to give you my direct contact information. When you're ready to apply to colleges, I want you to call me personally. Not because I can guarantee you admission, I can't do that for anyone, but because I can make sure your application gets the attention it deserves.
Amara took the card with trembling hands. Why? Why are you doing this for me? Dr. Vasquez's eyes grew misty. Because 25 years ago, I was a lot like you. I was a first-generation college student from a working-class family who thought places like Harvard were for other people. Someone believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, and it changed my life. Now it's my turn to pay that forward. After Dr. Vasquez left, Amara sat in the library for a long time, staring at the business card. When she finally went home, she found her mother in the kitchen, preparing for another night shift. "Mom," she said, her voice shaking with emotion, "something incredible happened today." As Amara told her mother about Dr. Vasquez's visit, Patricia's eyes filled with tears. She pulled her daughter into a tight hug, and for the first time in years, Amara felt like maybe their struggles had been leading somewhere meaningful. "I'm so proud of you, baby," Patricia whispered. "Not because of Harvard or any of that. I'm proud because you never gave up on your dreams, even when they seemed impossible." Word of Dr. Vasquez's visit somehow made its way through their small community. Mrs. Rodriguez told other librarians, who told teachers, who told parents. Soon, local news stations were calling, wanting to interview the teenager who had attracted the attention of Harvard University through her love of reading. Amara's blog followers grew from dozens to thousands to tens of thousands. People from around the world began commenting on her posts, sharing their own stories of overcoming obstacles through education and perseverance. Teachers started using her blog in their classrooms to inspire reluctant readers. Parents shared her posts on social media with captions like, "This is what determination looks like." But the most meaningful response came from kids in her own community. Students from her high school began showing up at the library asking Mrs. Rodriguez where they could find books like the ones Amara reads. Young people started their own reading challenges, inspired by her example. 8 months into her year-long challenge, Amara had read 387 books and gained something she never expected, a platform to inspire others. But she also faced new pressures. The attention was overwhelming sometimes, and she worried about maintaining her pace while dealing with interview requests and college applications. One particularly difficult evening, after a day of standardized testing and a tense interview with a college admissions counselor who seemed more interested in her inspiring story than her actual academic interests, Amara called the number on Dr. Vasquez's business card. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted, her voice breaking. "Everyone wants to talk about how inspiring I am, but I just feel lost. What if I don't get into Harvard? What if I disappoint everyone who's been following my story?" Dr. Vasquez's response was immediate and firm. "Amara, listen to me carefully. Your worth isn't determined by which college accepts you. You've already succeeded beyond most people's wildest dreams. You set an incredible goal and you're achieving it. You've inspired thousands of people to read more and dream bigger. That matters regardless of what any admissions committee decides. But what if it's not enough? It's already more than enough. And honestly, any college that doesn't recognize your potential doesn't deserve you. But I have a feeling you're going to have more options than you think." Dr. Vasquez was right. When acceptance letters arrived in the spring, Amara didn't just get into Harvard, she received offers from 12 prestigious universities, many with full scholarships. The girl who once worried about buying lunch had institutions competing to help fund her education. The day she reached her goal of 500 books, Amara didn't celebrate with a party or social media fanfare. Instead, she went to the library where it all began and sat in her old corner with her mother and Mrs. Rodriguez. Book number 500 was Becoming by Michelle Obama, a fitting choice for someone who was in the process of becoming something extraordinary herself. "You did it, baby," Patricia said, tears streaming down her face. "You actually did it." But Amara's response surprised them both. "We did it, Mom. None of this would have happened without you working those double shifts so I could spend time in libraries instead of getting a job. Without you believing in me when I told you I wanted to read 500 books. This isn't just my dream anymore, it's ours." 6 months later, Dr. Vasquez stood at the podium during Harvard's freshman orientation, looking out at the incoming class. When she spotted Amara in the third row, no longer the uncertain teenager she'd met in a public library, but a confident young woman ready to take on the world, she couldn't help but smile. After her speech, Dr. Vasquez approached Amara, who was surrounded by new friends and classmates. "How does it feel?" Dr. Vasquez asked. Amara grinned, the same authentic smile that had charmed blog readers around the world. "Like the beginning of the next chapter. I'm thinking about starting a new blog, maybe 1,000 books, 1,000 dreams, and documenting my college journey while encouraging other first-generation students." Dr. Vasquez laughed. "Of course you are. Some things never change." But as Amara walked away, chatting excitedly with her new classmates about their shared love of literature, Dr. Vasquez realized that everything had changed. A young woman who once doubted she deserved opportunities was now creating them for others. The girl who read to escape her circumstances was now using her voice to help others transcend theirs. Patricia, who had flown up for orientation despite never having been on a plane before, watched her daughter with wonder. The sacrifices, the double shifts, the nights of worry, they had all led to this moment. But more than that, they had led to Amara becoming someone who would spend her life helping others reach their own impossible dreams. As the semester began, Amara's blog continued to grow. But now, instead of just documenting her own reading journey, she featured other students, kids from foster care who were conquering calculus, immigrants learning English through poetry, working students who studied between shifts. She had learned that her story was powerful not because it was unique, but because it was universal. Everyone has obstacles to overcome and dreams that seem impossible. The girl who started reading 500 books to prove something to herself had ended up proving something much bigger, that extraordinary things happen when ordinary people refuse to accept limitations, when communities rally around dreamers, and when those who have succeeded remember to lift others as they climb.